Two of the core workflow actions involve waiting, pausing for something to happen. One is to pause for a specific period of time, and the other is to pause until a specific time or time and date. I'll be honest that I don't use the pause until very often. I use pause for a few all the time. So if we're going to choose to pause for a few here, I can right-click and choose Pause for Duration. And the default duration is 5 minutes. And let me tell you why I use this. There are lots of actions that if you take a step and then try to take the next step, SharePoint needs to catch up with you. It needs to update a list. It needs to send an email. And if you jump right from one thing to the next, SharePoint actually isn't ready for you. A prime example of that is when you want to copy an item to another list and then delete the current item. If you don't leave room for a pause, that item will never actually be deleted because the copy operation is still going on. And the next microsecond, SharePoint gets ready to do the delete, and it can't because the item's in use. It's being copied. So pause for duration is something that I use a fair amount. Anytime that I want to make sure that I'm not getting ahead of myself with a workflow. Pause until a specific time, on the other hand, I use sometimes, but not quite so much. It's a core action. It says pause until date, but you'll notice that it actually says this time. You're choosing a time and a date combination here. So the types of things you might use this for are you might have a workflow cranking along and you send something to someone and then you're going to send them a reminder. There should be no action in between your initial send and the reminder. If there is, you wouldn't want to pause. And I believe that's why I don't use this quite as much as I might, because if I'm pausing, by definition, this workflow isn't really doing anything during that time. It's waiting until the specific time or date comes up that I would say, okay, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to say pause until a specific time, and we're going to pause until the 11th at 4 o'clock p.m. And then the next step in the workflow would continue. So 2 easy pauses to set. Pause for a duration, pause until a specific time or date. Use them as you need to in order to set reminders, slow your workflow down, or just make sure that you keep things synchronized with SharePoint.